The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Natalie Rue and I am the Professional Certification Marketing Manager here at VCS. Today we will be talking about artificial intelligence, or AI, looking at how AI is affecting business right now and what the future looks like in an AI world. Today I'm sat with CEO of Purple Griffon, Steve Lawless, and AI subject matter expert Dr. Andy Lowe, who both helped develop the VCS Essentials Certificate in AI, who will be presenting this session with me. Just a bit of housekeeping to start with then. This webinar will be recorded and available on the VCS website from next week. Please let me know if at any point you can't hear us by sending us a message in the text box on your screen. The webinar will last around 30 minutes with a Q&A session at the end with Steve and Andy. Depending on how many questions we get, the webinar may run slightly longer than 30 minutes. So that you're aware, all attendees are on mute for the duration of the webinar, but if you have any questions as we go along, please use the question box at the bottom of your screen and we'll get to those questions at the end. So without further ado, let me pass you over to Andy and Steve, who will take you through their slides.
Hello everyone, I'm Steve Lawless, Purple Griffon's CEO and lead trainer, and with me I've Dr. Andy Lowe, who's our subject matter expert in artificial intelligence.
Hi everybody.
We thought we'd like to put together a presentation with BCS, and BCS are I suppose supporting us here in terms of allowing us to produce this. And it was really just to give an introduction to the BCS AI Essentials training course and why people should attend it, but also wider to try and explain what AI is, what AI isn't, and how organizations can get involved in AI if they're not already, or if they're already involved in AI, then what should they really be doing to make sure they're creating trustworthy and sustainable AI products and systems. So what we're going to cover today really is what instigated this AI training scheme. So we'll start with that, and also we'll talk around what AI is and try to agree what it actually is and what it isn't. Also looking at some of the interesting stuff that's happening at the moment, and we'll finish with the VCS AI Core Scheme, the bits we can tell you about at the moment, the bits we've developed. And also how you can get involved if you're interested in AI and want to contribute to the portfolio of training. And then, as Natalie said, we'll finish with a QA session at the end. So really, how did we start off? I suppose it was a chance opportunity. Andy and myself both volunteer at Kendal Snow Sports Club on a Saturday morning, where we set up about 300 pair of skis for various children's lessons which are occurring at the slope. And I'd just been bought a couple of years ago now a book by the staff for my 60th birthday, which was Ray Kurzweil's book, The Singularity is Near. And I happened to mention to Andy that I was reading this book, and we discovered we had a joint interest in artificial intelligence. So if it wasn't for the Kendal Snow Sports Club and a chance of conversation, we probably wouldn't be here today.
That's true.
And somebody else probably would.
Yeah.
So that's really how it started. And we started working with BCS probably about 12 months ago in starting to develop the AI training portfolio. So a little bit of background about Ray Kurzweil. He's the chief technologist at Google, or he was when he wrote the book. And in the book, he explores the logarithmic development and growth of a number of technologies, primarily artificial intelligence, but also robotics, nanotechnology and genetic engineering. So it's quite a thick book, but well worth a read if you can get your hands on it. It also explores other technologies like the Internet of Things, 3D printing, big data. But really at the heart of it is artificial intelligence. So that does form a big chunk of the book. And as I said, it's well worth a read. Ray's been tracking the growth of technologies for about the last 50 years. And he's projected this into the future. And the singularity is really where all of these technologies come together in about 2045. So about 26 years off. And it's based on this logarithmic rather than a linear progress in the technologies. And it's what we've seen over the last 50 years, and it's what we'll see over the coming years. Part of the presentation today was also to try and identify the science from the hype. So here's an example of something that ended up in my email inbox a few months ago now, where someone was offering me an AI-powered or AI-enabled toothbrush for $199. So maybe we just add AI in front of all of our products and services, we can double or quadruple the price of them. Maybe there is some learning at the heart of this toothbrush. I very much doubt it. I think it's just someone's dived on the AI hype bandwagon. So what we'd like to do over the next half an hour really is to identify the difference between the AI hype and the AI science that we see. So this is the point really where I hand over for a little while to our subject matter expert, Andy. He can explain really what AI is and what AI isn't. So over to you, Andy.
Thanks, Steve. It's really good to be here. I suppose we should really start first with what's a human intelligence. And a really good example of human intelligence is in Encyclopedia Britannica. And what they say is it's the quality of our mental abilities to learn from experience, to adapt to new situations, to understand and handle abstract concepts, a bit like science, that kind of stuff. And then the key bit is to use that knowledge to manipulate our environment. And that's led us to industrial revolutions, of which we're a part of the fourth, and we'll soon be going on to the fifth. In the Essentials course, we cover four things. The first thing is that the fourth industrial revolution gives us technologies to really change society as we want to change it, and change it very quickly. We then say that artificial intelligence is about learning from experience and creating intelligent entities. So that means creating products that can learn around us. We also say in Essentials that artificial intelligence is not a silver bullet, and we must develop a rigorous skepticism of what artificial intelligence can actually do for us. And a big part of artificial intelligence is machine learning, which is very popular at the moment. And if you're going to do some machine learning, which is a great place to start, you need really good data and really good algorithms. AI is not just automation, because we do automation all the time in manufacturing plants for making cans of beans and things like that. And it's not just complex programming like generating smart systems. It really is thinking about how humans learn and how we can get machines to do that heavy lifting for us and help us learn quicker and engineer quicker. So artificial intelligence is a universal subject, and just as everybody uses computers, BCS is a good place to forward artificial intelligence. We'd like to put it into a professional footing, so we want people to be suitably qualified and experienced in applying artificial intelligence. And beyond Essentials, we'd like to introduce an ethical purpose to artificial intelligence so that we can develop robust artificial intelligence that's professional, it's engineered. And part of doing that ethical purpose is to make sure it's sustainable. So the United Nations have got 17 year sustainability goals. So as we move from Essentials, we'll look at how can we produce ethical artificial intelligence that's sustainable. A couple of examples of what artificial intelligence will touch is learning, education, and improve that. In South America, we're seeing universities adopting artificial intelligence to improve learning for their students. Of course, we're going to see big data. We've already got big data, and you can see vast amounts of cloud computing letting you analyze big data. Internet of Things are going to make all our products that give us the capability to communicate with each other, but also to learn our habits. And that brings us to the next key point, that part of the artificial intelligence course is about human plus the machine. So machines doing the heavy lifting, doing some of the learning and operations for us, taking away some of the monotonous tasks to leave humans to deal with things that are ambiguous or awkward, or leave us to do higher value work.
Right, thanks for that, Andy. Hopefully that's given you a little bit of insight about what AI is, and we'll obviously look at this as we proceed through our slides. I don't know whether many of you have seen. I think it was around the middle of last year, June last year, PricewaterhouseCoopers produced a report which suggested that in the UK, probably about 7 million jobs are going to disappear over the next 20 years. And this is mainly down to automation. But as a result of AI and organisations adopting and building AI systems and services, that's 7.2 million. I'm not sure how they can be that accurate, but roughly another 7 million jobs will actually be created through AI. But that's really only if we actually embrace AI and understand what it is and understand the benefits it can bring to us as individuals, as organisations, and as a wider society. A report that was also produced roughly at the same time was suggesting that 65% of children who are entering primary education at the moment, so that's 2/3 of them, will end up working in jobs which don't currently exist at the moment. And the majority of those jobs will be created through artificial intelligence. So there'll be roles around AI ethicists, there'll be roles around testing AI systems, and roles in terms of training AI systems. And also sort of interpreting roles, roles which will allow people to interpret the results of that AI systems develop. So it will be that human machine interface. This really depends on, or that these new roles and the 7 million new jobs depend on people having the right skills. So, which is where the training comes in. Universities are only going to produce so many people with artificial intelligence skills and knowledge. So there's a requirement for a general form of training around artificial intelligence. Some people may call it a sheep dip, which allows people to all communicate at the same level of understanding in terms of the terminology, the concepts, the objectives and goals of AI, and also how we measure the success of AI systems in terms of benefiting society and humans and organisations. So there's lots of new roles there. So I'll just hand over to Andy again.
So we kind of established that we need to be creative, and we need to start generating roles for future generations and give this kind of intergenerational equity to people. One of the key areas is robotics. And if we focus on machine learning, we miss this concept of robotics. But robotics will play a big role in our future in lots of areas, such as healthcare. But I'll give you a couple of really good examples, which is extreme environment robotics. So if we want to decommission, say, an oil rig out at sea, and it's got tentacles deep under the water, sending a human down there is not a good idea. But if we can send a robot down there that can learn in its environment and decommission it for us, it's a lot safer. In Cumbria, where I live, we have a £200 billion nuclear decommissioning liability. So there's lots of chemical hazards, there's lots of radioactive hazards. So robots can go in there, decommission those facilities safely. In healthcare or in food production, we need robots that can work in a hygienic environment. So extreme robotics is a really key area. and the UK government is putting large sums of money into that to support companies who are developing these technologies. If we get extreme environments right, and robotics for extreme environments right, that opens the door to the fifth industrial revolution, which is space, and we can explore space and the resources that are out there in space.
Thanks, Andy. Organisations are already working in the initial stages of these areas. So there are organisations who are looking at how we can exploit minerals on asteroids, how we can bring those back to Earth. Obviously not building the robotic entities at the moment, but the planning on it. And they're looking at the feasibility studies around there. But what we're actually doing today, there's lots of AI systems available. We probably see them on a daily basis on our TV sets and through the media and Facebook. Probably the most interactive activities we have with AI systems are our personal chatbots like Alexa, Siri. I'm glad no one's phone just activated them when I mentioned them. So we have these personal assistants, we have chatbots, and they're learning. We see autonomous vehicles, so they're in the pipeline at the moment with the likes of Tesla, Google, and other organisations. We've also got various organisations which are working in research and development around things like home automation, and we have systems already in place which can activate our heating systems or air conditioning systems prior to us arriving home, and they learn the environmental conditions that we like. Other areas are things like agriculture, where we could make use of artificial intelligence systems rather than making excessive use of things like pesticides and herbicides. Already talked about space exploration, which is an area of interest to me, although I don't think I'll ever make it there. But probably one of the areas I probably will make use of is healthcare. So healthcare and social care, I think we all will make use of that in time. So we can make use of or create home assistants which work with people who have particular needs, maybe mental or physical needs, which need to be satisfied in terms of looking after them and making sure people are safe and healthy. And really this brings us to the last point on the slide, is the human-machine applications. So these are applications which actually benefit society, so which learn our requirements. And these could be in the healthcare area. We can have diagnostic applications we can access via our mobile phones. Or it could be systems that monitor us in terms of our normal pattern within the house, and maybe if we have an elderly relative and they're not following their normal pattern, the AI system could alert us that maybe there's something wrong with that relative. So there's lots of applications that organisations are working on today, and you're probably thinking of applications your organisations maybe are working on, and that could be around cyber security or marketing or sales, and using AI systems for those sort of purposes. So that it's really about reimagining our services, our products, our systems to see where we could use AI systems and services to benefit us in our roles, but also our organisations and society as a whole. So in terms of the future of AI, what we're looking at really is this human plus machine. That's really the key aspect to it. AI is going to end up underpinning a lot of what we do in work and at play. It could allow us to free up our time at work, where we can use AI systems to allow us to create more free time for ourselves. And even in our free time, we can actually then use AI systems to help us enjoy ourselves a lot more. So it's really about reimagining the processes that we have, and that's our personal processes, as well as the processes that we follow in work. Okay, so we'll be creating new jobs, new roles. We should have improved healthcare through the adoption of artificial intelligence. I'm not saying artificial intelligence will help us solve all the problems we have with climate change, but they can actually help us do better modelling, better prediction in terms of extreme events, and can actually allow us to understand our interaction with the environment. One of the biggest areas I'm also interested in is things like education, where we can use AI systems to create individual education plans for individual pupils or students, where we're not just throwing 30 children into a classroom and expecting them all to learn in the same way. So we can actually accommodate different learning styles through AI systems. And the teachers really will be part of the education system to allow these AI systems to work better with our children and young adults to create the skills we require in the future. Hopefully, the more leisure time, the better. From my own personal experience, I can spend a lot more time down at the Snow Sports Club, setting up skis. And obviously, there's lots more opportunities. I think we can all identify in terms of making use of AI. But it's not all rosy. There are challenges and risks that we need to be aware of, and really those challenges come in the. I mentioned before the logarithmic progression of technologies that Ray Kurzweil is predicting and monitoring at the moment. So actually being able to keep track of AI systems, what they're doing, what they're not, what they shouldn't be doing, which brings us into ethics. So a big part of our course portfolio, and on the Essentials course and the other courses we're developing, is AI ethics, about looking at where AI ethics are being developed. And Andy and myself have been doing a lot of research on various bodies that are developing ethics based on human rights principles and values. And we're looking at the EU, the EU and the Future of Life Institute, United Nations. And some of you may have heard just recently, Google set up their own internal ethics board, and had to collapse it literally within 2 weeks of setting it up. What we foresee really is that AI ethics will be part of our overall governance, risk and compliance. The same way that we monitor our information security, we monitor health and safety within an organisation. AI ethics should form part of that, but should be controlled really by a larger body that we sign up to those ethics. Another area is sustainability, making sure that our AI systems are sustainable in terms of environmental, economic and social sustainability, or sustainability. Health and safety, obviously. So if we're talking about things like autonomous vehicles, so if we get an autonomous vehicle with an AI system which is controlling it, what happens if a plastic bag blows out in front of the autonomous vehicle? Does it learn it is a plastic bag and it can just drive through it, or does it do an emergency stop? And what's the difference if someone's actually walking along with a plastic bag? Then does it plough through that person? And if there is an accident, then what are the repercussions in terms of who gets sued? Is it the car manufacturer? Is it the person who owns the vehicle, the person who installed the software, the person who developed the software? So we need to understand all of these aspects. So we're not actually giving you the answers, essentials course, but hopefully what we're doing is opening up your ideas, so that you can actually develop those ideas within your organisation, but also look at what's happening wider in the community. So what directives are in place, what's already in place in terms of human rights and the law around health and safety, things like that. Another concern that we hear quite often is about consciousness, whether AI systems will develop consciousness. According to Ray Kurzweil, he reckons about 2045, but if you listen to other experts, they're talking hundreds of years off. It will probably be somewhere in between. That's probably all we can say at the moment, but as we develop along this logarithmic progression, then we will understand when that is likely to occur, and also what the consequences are if AI systems do develop consciousness. Will they develop their own rights and privileges as a result? Other challenges and risks are things like security. So we're looking at security and data protection, which we've already got at the moment, but how will AI impact them? And superintelligence. So what happens if we end up with a Terminator type situation where Skynet takes over the planet? Hopefully that's not going to happen if we put the right rules and protections in place. But it is a concern. But it's something we need to be aware of and something we can address. Right, and lastly, the VCS AI Core Scheme. And this is really just to give you an insight in terms of what we're doing at the moment. We've developed the AI Essentials course, and we've delivered a few of these courses. The course portfolio, unfortunately, we can't share it with you at the moment. We're still trying to agree that at the moment with BCS, but we've got a good indication. What the portfolio is looking to do really is to educate people in terms of what AI is, what it isn't, and develop a broader interest in artificial intelligence. It's there to drive innovation within organisations and create an interest in people who attend the courses. Also, it's about trying to help people identify opportunities in terms of reimagining processes, systems and services within their organisation. And the training is also there to look at where there's knowledge gaps, where there's skill gaps, whether that's in terms of ethics, machine learning, data, whether it's I've lost the word. Whether it's the interfaces we have in terms of collecting the data, whether it's things like data bias. So we're looking at filling those knowledge gaps, and also it's allowing us to actually communicate with the AI experts who are out there. So we've got common understanding of the language, the concepts, that to allow us to project manage an AI project or to work to test an AI system. So and ultimately, hopefully, if the predictions are right and 7 million people in the UK are going to be working in AI, I think the United Nations has said 1.3 billion people worldwide will be working in AI over the next 20 years, then hopefully it'll educate the masses. I'm not so sure about running courses for 1.3 billion people, though. We may have to do a little bit, train the trainer. Right, okay. So this has sort of brought us to the end of the presentation. So would like
Cool.
to hand it back over to Natalie.
Yeah, thank you both for taking us through that today. It was really very interesting. So for any training providers listening, if you're interested in the AI Essentials Certificate, please go to www.vcs.org to become accredited. And if you're listening and you're interested in taking the AI Essentials Certificate, please go to www.vcs.org/AI to try and find a training provider. Okay, so should we take a few questions then?
Yep.
Let's have a look what we've got. Okay, so I've got one here. Ethics in AI seems to be the hot topic at the moment, and you touched on it in your presentation. What do you think the biggest concern or challenges when it comes to ethics in AI? Who wants to answer?
The obvious one is autonomous weapons, and that seems to be, the community seems to be, or the AI research community seems to be absolutely drawing a red line in autonomous weapons and not to develop them. So they just like the bioengineers have done with the Asilomar principles, the Future of Life Institute have promoted Asilomar principles for the development of AI. So developing it in good human-centric, ethical ways. It's easy to say this, but very difficult to do. So we're going to have to get international agreement, and that's going to filter down into law throughout multiple countries. But it's encouraging that the United Nations and the International Standards Community are already looking at this, and they're looking at writing standards for ethics and building robust AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, question. What is the difference between a free course in AI from LinkedIn or Google as opposed to a paid certificate from BCS? What do you feel are the benefits?
I think the key benefits are that if you were looking to do a free course, you're probably looking in a very narrow area, and you're only getting one organisation's view of that topic. Whereas Andy and myself have researched a lot of research, reading lots of books and looking at lots of presentations and webinars, and Andy attending the Future of Life conference in San Francisco recently. We've put a lot together, and we believe this probably is we believe it is, not probably, we believe it is the best approach for organisations that want to get a formal qualification in artificial intelligence. You could look at things like machine learning qualifications, but again, you're looking at a very narrow field. What we're looking at here is a very broad field, which allows you to create that sort of T-shaped individual. So it gives you very broad knowledge of artificial intelligence. But as we develop the training portfolio further, there'll be those specialisms within artificial intelligence that will allow people to become specialists in a particular area.
Okay, great. We've got a question here from Elias. What can AI do in narrowing the gap between low income, medium and high income people?
I think it levels the playing field.
Yeah.
In terms of giving everybody access to technologies, literally via the mobile phone. So it also gives opportunity for people to develop their own systems, their own businesses using AI. So it's a little bit like in India, where people didn't have access to banks, and through the use of mobile phones and technology, various applications, people in rural communities had access to banking technologies and banking opportunities. So I think AI, there's more good there, and hopefully it will level the playing field, because certainly the playing field at the moment isn't level, where 1% of the world's population controlling 99% of the wealth. That's not sustainable long term. So I think it's more about an equal society. It will allow us to achieve that.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, in terms of one of the big areas would be education. So developing nations can develop quicker the technologies in how they develop. The fourth industrial revolution's given us things like plastic printing or 3D printing, which means that we can print sophisticated engineering products on site, say in the middle of Africa or whatever. So education's a key one. One of the things looking forward to 2045, there seems to be a consensus among people that we'll all have a universal basic income so that we can all at least survive and develop and grow. So yeah, there's a lot of positives to look forward to, providing we guide the technology well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's really interesting. Couple more questions then. David has asked, what are their thoughts about the elderly and how can they be helped when they have limited digital skills?
I think natural language processing is certainly a way forward. Although I have seen my mother-in-law trying to use Siri, and which was a little bit of a challenge. But then again, I have a challenge using Siri. But I think as the systems progress, they will develop and be a lot easier to use. So I don't think it's a case of being able to log onto a laptop. I think in the future, natural language processing is the future.
So things like robots can take away some of the monotonous tasks that we do and some of the heavy lifting tasks that we do. But the whole point of artificial intelligence and robotics is to allow humans to be more one-on-one with humans. So if you talk to the great and the good about artificial intelligence, they'll tell you that the future roles for humans in our future society is to look after other humans. So if we can free up more time, then we'll have more people to work with people that can't use digital skills, or to work with people that don't understand it. So the real benefit is a side effect. By thinking about the human plus the machine, machines take away our heavy lifting, the monotonous tasks that waste our time, so that we can work on more valued tasks. And part of that valued task would be by valuing other human beings. So hopefully we go to a better society and we have a lot more respect for people.
Yeah.
It's hopefully we're going to end up with a utopia as opposed to a dystopia. So I think if we get it right, we'll be more utopian than dystopian. Because that's not a very good place to be.
Okay, and then just one last question then before we wrap up. From Brid, what ethical questions does social media algorithms pose now or in the future? From an AI standpoint.
Yes, it's a difficult one. I think that social media presently allows people to post virtually anything they want to. And the algorithms don't pull down things like hate speech quickly enough. But it also depends on the balance between freedom of speech and hate speech. So to one person, it could be you're removing their right to free speech. For another person, it's really about they don't want insulting or comments really in social media, which can influence people who can be easily influenced to do things they shouldn't be doing. So I think there's a fine balancing act. The likes of Mark Zuckerberg and his people at Facebook and on Twitter and LinkedIn and all the other social media platforms, that they need to start looking at how they can use the algorithms in a way which is balanced, but is for the general good of society.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I think we've run out of time a little bit here. So any questions that have been asked that we haven't been able to get to, we will try and answer those offline for you. The webinar has been recorded and it will be available on the BCS website from next week once we've been able to upload it. So yeah, that's it from us. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for listening in.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.